Greetings and welcome to PinballHelp. Here I am today working on a Gottlieb Mars God of War pinball machine. This is a System 80 game, and if you've been following the series, you know that I actually had video of me pulling this out of an old abandoned house that was destroyed in Katrina. It's been sitting around here for a while. I'm just starting to finally get some of the parts in and start to work on it. And here's an update on what's going on with it. When I first got the game, it was basically all original, and here's the MPU board. It was pretty toasty. I don't know if you can see here. The battery used to be right here, and there's been electrolyte damage all through here. So the battery's basically leaked. They caused a tremendous amount of damage. Apparently this had happened more than once because it looks like there's been some repair on the board already. But if you look here, look at how corroded these edge connectors are. I mean, they're just toast. Look at that. That's bad news. And the reverse side of the board is just as bad. Look at that. This battery leaking just gets sucked up into these traces and just starts to corrode everything. So what ends up happening is the edge connectors that go onto these things right here, you know, they end up getting all completely messed up too. And so all of the pins in there, I don't know if you can see them, they're all green and gross and corroded. And even if you replace this MPU board, you're still going to have problems because there's going to be bad connections, there's going to be broken parts in the connector. So the whole connector needs to be replaced and repinned, and that's basically what I'm doing today. But I'm also going to show you what I'm doing with this game. This is the original MPU board. I'm not going to use this. I'm replacing it with this board here, which is the PI-80X4. This is by this guy in France named Pascal Jane, and he's just a brilliant designer, and he's come up with an alternative board that drops into Gottlieb System 1s and System 80s that replaces not just the main MPU board, but it also replaces the driver board, it replaces parts of the power supply, sound, everything. So it's just an amazing board, and it also reduces a lot of the interconnect problems, because not only do you have bad connectors on the main power board, but you have connectors between this board and the sound board, and this board and the driver board, and all that stuff. Gottlieb used these edge connectors instead of Trifucon. They're much more susceptible to being damaged and broken, and so they just don't last as long. So the technology they use doesn't hold up as well as some of this other stuff like the Trifucon, those pins that you push down onto. So as a result, we have to repin as many connectors as needed to get this thing working. You can see here I've already started to repin a connector. Let me zoom in a little bit, give you a little more information on what I've been doing. So here is an original connector right here, and this is the new connector that we're using. There's some slight differences in them. This connector is a punch-down connector where they used a punch-down tool, and the actual metal part of the connector was built into the connector housing. And then when they assembled it, they used a punch-down tool to punch the wire kind of just spliced down in. It's kind of the same way they do it with telephone and network cables. We're using a different technology where we're taking individual pins. Let's see if I can show you. There's an individual pin. Focus. Let's see if I can see it. And it's right here. An individual pin like this that we will be putting the wire into on one end and crimping it, and then this will plug into a connector like this. And once we have the wire on the pin and we crimp it into the connector, we insert the connector in. Let's see if I can get this. You know, see, a crew of one is not as easy to do, but I will insert this into the connector, and it will click into place, and then we'll have the edge connectors in here. So, great place for all of these connectors is Great Plains Electronics. If you go to my website, PinballHelp.com, I've got a link to all the suppliers, including Pascal's thing where you can get his MPU board, and also these edge connectors and all of the tools. Now the tools you need for this are, you need these connector housings. They come in all different sizes, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14 pin, 24 pin, 29 pin, whatever. And of course in the games, they're all different size connectors, so you got to go through and you have to keep, make a note of them. What I do is I always order extras, so now I've got a whole big batch of Gottlieb edge connectors of different sizes and stuff like that. And again, Great Plains Electronics, Ed over there, is really good taking care of this stuff. Tell him Mike from Pinball Help sent you. I don't know if he'll give you a discount or anything. I don't get a discount, but he's really a good guy, and ships out fast, has great prices, and he's got all of these. If you can find some of these connectors on some of the big sites like Newark and Jameco, but you have to wade through just thousands and thousands of different connectors, and it's really kind of difficult. Great Plains has kind of done that for you, and they pretty much just carry all of the stuff, and their prices in some cases are even better. I don't know how the guy makes money really, but anyway, I appreciate him. So what you need are the connector housings and the little pins, and they come in all different kinds of configurations. Here's these are some of the regular pins that I got in bulk here. I'm also using these ones that are slightly gold plated on the contact point, and the reason I'm using these is because this board has got gold plated contacts, unlike the Gottlieb boards, which didn't. You wouldn't want to necessarily mix gold and non-gold, but since this board has them, I'm going to be using these. It's totally not necessary, except I just ordered them when I was learning about connectors and pins, and I got a bunch of different kinds. And then you need a crimping tool. This is a relatively cheap crimping tool. I think I got this from Great Plains. And what you really want to focus on are the two little areas up in here that say A and B. A would be the outer. There's two spots to crimp on these connectors. There's an inner and an outer. I don't know if you can see that. But when you put the wire through, the exposed wire should be in the inner, and then the wire with the insulation should be on the outer. So you crimp around the insulation for the outer one with the A, and then you do a tighter crimp on the inner one with the actual wire. So I'll show you what I'm doing. And of course, always a good idea to take pictures of these connectors so that you know exactly the order that the wires are in. Let me zoom in a little bit, and so you can see. So it's really important to document the color codes for all of these things so that you don't get them mixed up. And you see in this case, this connector has some blank ones, and I literally took a magic marker and I marked X's where they're supposed to be open, so that when I am going, and I will go wire by wire, I will never take all these off and then put them on. I will do one wire at a time to the new connector, old, new, old, new. And I'm also keeping track of where there are blanks so that I make sure that I don't mess it up. And as a backup, I take pictures. You can pull these things off or you can cut them off. I think it might be better in some cases if you've got the space. You gotta kind of look in your game and see whether or not you need that extra, quarter of an inch, or sometimes you do, but I'm going to be cutting this off. Also, it gives me another little reference that I can look at the wire in the actual old connector if I get confused about anything. So I'll take one wire at a time and I will cut it off. There's our wire. I take my wire strippers and I pull maybe a little bit more than a quarter of an inch off of there. What I like to do is I'll take it and then I'll bend it. So I'll double up that wire like that, and then I'll put I'm going to kind of get it nice and tight. So I'll rest the wire inside of the pin, and I do the B first. So make sure the tool is right side up. Put it in, crimp down. Okay, so now what I've done is I've crimped the inner one, and and I'll inspect it to make sure that I've got a good connection between the raw wire and the actual pin. And then I'll do the A on the outer one with the insulation. And different tools work different ways. And there we go. So now we've got the pin crimped onto the end of the wire. And then I will just insert it into where it needs to go into the connector, and it should click. And once it clicks, it's locked in there and it won't come back out. If for some reason you put it in the wrong way, there's a special tool you can get. Let me see if I've got it down here. Show you the tool. This little tool here, which is kind of like just a very thin sheet of stainless steel with a really thin end. So you can put this tool and push it in right here, and then and pull the pin out. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can do that. You push it in, and there's a little tab in there that it catches on, and then you can pull the pin back out and reposition it. So this is also useful for repinning connectors. And if you're going from a non-punch down and you just want to replace the pins and you can still use the connector, you use one of those tools. So I'm going to be going through all these different connectors, repinning them, and just methodically making sure that everything is correct. And I'm going to do that before I even try to power the game up with the new board. I want to make sure that I've got really good connections, because some of these are just really bad. I can literally see things that are broken off in there, and hear it rattling. There's literally broken pieces of pins in there. So I'm getting rid of this, going to replace it with this new one, and hopefully we'll get the game going real soon. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. Be sure to visit PinballHelp.com. Oh, and let's see. Check out our t-shirts. Look at that. Is that neat? Mystic Crew, the silver ball. We've got these listed. If you go to mysticcrew.com, you can find out more about these shirts. That's it. Thanks very much for watching.